I'm Teresa Lusk. Welcome to the Teresa Lusk Show. I am so excited to bring you good news. Yes, it's good news. But first, I want to share with you. America seems to be losing its mind. We are slowly sexualizing, and our children are suffering. They are slowly beginning to be sexualized and groomed for all kinds of things that we don't really know what could come about. Because of that, I have invited my guest, Jenna Quinn. Jenna is a pioneer of the childhood sexual abuse prevention awareness movement. Jenna has a lot of wisdom in this area, so I want to welcome Jenna Quinn. Welcome to the show, Jenna.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Jenna, I brought you on the show today because America needs to know how to protect their children. Now, you have a testimony. Would you share that with our viewers?
Absolutely. So I unapologetically and unashamedly do share that I am a survivor of child sexual abuse. I know I'm not alone. Unfortunately, this is so prevalent in America. We have about 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 6 boys that are sexually abused before the age of 18. Yes, before the age of 18. And so, we now are having more conversations about this in prevention around that space. But for me, at the time growing up in my household, I come from a wonderful family, a beautiful family, and we were all very close. So I was not an at-risk child growing up. And I think a lot of people have this misunderstanding that this just happens to at-risk children or a certain demographic of children. And yes, it is true. There are some children and youth that seem to be a little bit more at risk than others. But the bottom line here is that this can happen to any child, and it can happen quickly. And so, yes, I am a survivor. For several years, I was sexually abused by a trusted family friend. That's the other thing. Over 90% of the time, a child or youth is sexually abused by someone they know, they trust, and many times they love, because these predators spend a lot of time, what we call sexual grooming. They spend a lot of time breaking down boundaries and breaking down barriers in that child or youth space. And they even take the time to groom the caregivers around the child and youth. And so there's a whole science behind grooming and how it works and why it works. And so that was me. I was textbook groomed by this predator, but by the grace of God, I was able to tell my older sister and get the healing, get the counseling, get the deliverance that was needed. Okay. And to this day, my perpetrator, the man who offended, is still in prison.
So that's very concerning, Jenna. So what can you tell parents that are watching right now on how to prepare their children to be aware and to protect themselves? What can we briefly say to the parents?
So the best thing you can do is have those conversations and look for teaching opportunities. For me, I assumed that since my parents didn't have a body safety conversation with me, this wasn't mentioned in a preventative manner in any of my safe places, not at home, not at school, not at church. So I concluded this must be something that's better left unspoken. And unfortunately, we have, as you mentioned, so well, we have a lot of communication, a lot of marketing to children and youth now that is very confusing to them.
Yes, you're right.
Very confusing about, what is confusing to them about their bodies, what is appropriate, what is inappropriate. There's a lot of gray, and they're constantly bombarded with this messaging, with this marketing. And so it's important for parents to talk to their children about body safety, bathing suit area. No one should ever touch you there. You should never touch anyone else. Just basic conversations. And let them know that if something happens, you're a safe person, they can tell.
That's right. Jenna, those are wonderful, wonderful principles to go by to help your child be safe. Jenna, how can people find out more about you? Because just briefly, as we wrap up, 30 seconds or less, there is a law, Jenna's Law, and it's named after you. So if people want to find out more about you, how can they get a hold of you? How can they reach you?
On my website, there's all the information you would ever want to learn and more at jennaquinn.org. You'll find all the social media handles there, information about Jenna's Law legislation on the state and federal level. And I have some free safety videos for you as well if you want to learn more about how to have those prevention conversations with your family.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for being on the show, and we look forward to having you again.
Thank you.
Take care. Ladies and gentlemen, a few weeks ago, Don Lemon with CNN was saying that the governor of South Carolina, Nikki Haley, was no longer in her prime as she was 51 years old. Well, obviously that caused the media to go into a frenzy, and so much was being said about women in their prime. Listen to the clip.
Politicians or something are not in their prime. Nikki Haley isn't in her prime. Sorry. When a woman is considered to be in her prime in her 20s and 30s and maybe 40s.
What are you talking? Wait.
That's not according to me.
Prime for what?
It depends. I mean, it's just like prime. If you look it up, if you Google when is a woman in her prime, it'll say 20s, 30s, and 40s.
This is the pressure that we go through. It is real. I think that there's two aspects, as you said. There is the personal, internal, and then there is the societal pressure. So a person really does need to figure out, what do I love about me? How can I love me better? How can I aspire for my own goals, regardless of your age, regardless of this, is she in her prime or not? Because women decide when they're in their prime.
That was the response that I gave on the radio interview. And I want to talk about women in their prime. You know, right now, there's so many things, so many outcries about this issue, that issue. And what we really need to look at is, while a lot of things are just wasteful outcries, some things are actually valuable and valued if we jump on board. So here's the deal. Women decide when their prime is. Historically, we've been taught that women are in their prime when they're young enough to have babies, raise babies, get married, and still look good enough to do that. But, times are changing. And the truth is that if, as women, we want to grow and we want our voice to be heard, we want to be valued for who we are, the truth is that, number one, we decide when is our prime. Well, number one, age has nothing to do with it. Nikki Haley is 51 years old, and let's be honest, the girl looks pretty good at 51, and hey, she's running for president of the United States. If that's not encouraging to you, I don't know what to say, but I'm excited about it. I understand that, we get a little older and things start to not move as fast as they used to, but ladies, this is your season to find the best version of you. So number one, if you want to bring the best version of you to your life, to those around you, you have to define, what does age mean? What does it mean to you? You can be 50, you can be 60, you can be 70, you can be older, but your prime is really about, when do I begin to follow and pursue my dreams? Listen, age is a number. What are you doing with the number? 51's a great age. I'm in my mid-40s, and I feel like I'm just starting a new type of career, new friends, new opportunities. It's wonderful. So if you want to grow and get healthy, I'm coaching you on how to begin to do that. Number one, you define what kind of weight will your age carry. The second thing is, start finding yourself. Did you know that as women, we don't usually start finding ourselves until we begin to put the responsibilities of the family, the children, the husband to the side? Women really do lose themselves because they put all that they are, all of their energy, for the most part, into taking care of the family. As a somewhat traditional woman, I don't find anything wrong with that, but there comes a point where you do have to find out, who are you? And the way to approach that is that you begin to delegate some responsibility. We as women we have this powerful ability to multitask, and that's so useful. It's helpful, yes. But at some point, we have to begin to practice delegating responsibility. When a woman begins to clear her plate of raising children, going to the baseball games, things of that nature, all of a sudden there's free time for her. She can now begin to explore, read books, take up new hobbies. Well, guess what? Women, if they don't pay attention, they won't jump on that train. So I'm encouraging you to begin to look at life and identify things that maybe you're taking too much responsibility for. If women learn to delegate, where we're no longer washing the clothes, folding the clothes, and putting away the clothes, but rather maybe we're just washing the clothes and now we're saying, hey, can you go ahead and put away your own clothes? Those are simple things. You just have to look at your life and say, where can I assign this responsibility to that, frankly, I've been doing it for many years and I've been doing well at it. That will release you from that. Number 3, it's really important that you begin to explore, what do you like? The only way to find out some things that you're really good at and that you like is to try new things. So you may take some kind of photography class and decide, this is not what I want to do. Maybe you go to a professional meeting and you decide, I think I want to take on a new career, or I want to learn new things. Ladies, it's important that we look at and explore new things. And the last thing I want to leave you with is this. Women are notorious for guilt. We are so good at carrying guilt because we believe that we're the only ones, for the most part, that could do things well when it comes to running the home, taking care of the children. And so we have this internal back and forth of, I'll take care of this, but no, and I'll ask you to do it, but then I'll remove it from you and I'll take it from you because nobody can do it as good as me. And hey, if we're honest, we will say, yeah, I'm guilty of that. But guilt keeps us from being able to move forward in that. And I want to tell you that guilt is false. Guilt is a false responsibility that women often deal with because we're not comfortable delegating. We often have this mentality that our family members are somewhat helpless, but that's not true at all. Our family members are not helpless. You would be amazed at what they can do if you just begin to give them some of that responsibility. Of course, consider the ages, but if your children are 18 and 20 and mom's still doing their laundry when mom could be going to some kind of meeting that empowers her to be the best version of her, well, that's a sign. It's a sign to start delegating and learning how to give somebody else responsibility. So how do you discover what are some things that could really contribute to this prime? Well, what have people told you you're good at? Have they told you that you're great at singing? Have they told you that you're great at art, that you have a visionary entrepreneurial spirit? I don't know. Pay attention to the signs because along the way, God has actually made himself clear on the things that you are gifted in. You just have to pay attention. You just have to be comfortable with and be okay with exploring. You have to be okay with saying goodbye to the version of yourself that was created with great intentions, but is expired. So ladies, I want to encourage you. If you take these principles that I'm sharing with you and you apply them and you practice your way to new behaviors, I promise you, you will see a new person coming forth. And hey, we love to be around positive, happy people, people who have purpose in life, people who go after their dreams. And that is what a woman in her prime is celebrating. So I pray that this has helped you. I am your Execu Coach. Have a great one and stay tuned for our next segment. Hey, I want to encourage you to get a copy of my book, Girl Preach, A Woman's Call to Kingdom Purpose. This book trains women on how to go out there and be a voice for God unapologetically. Get your copy wherever books are sold or on Amazon.com. Welcome back. I'm Teresa Lusk, your host of The Teresa Lusk Show. You know, I love a great cup of coffee and fresh food. Therefore, I frequent the Yabba Java in McKinney. They have the best cup of coffee, the best pizza. But you know, one of the things that I really love about that place is that the owner is an amazing decorated veteran, Ayman Hatkwa. And today I want to introduce you to Ayman. He has a wonderful story. He's a decorated veteran who was actually instrumental in the hunt and capture of Sadaam Hussein and other terrorists on the U.S. watch list. Ayman, thank you so very much for being here today.
Well, thank you so much for having me here, Teresa, and the best of luck for you and your program here.
Thank you. You know, you have a wonderful story because you're an American, but you were an immigrant. Start there. Tell us a little bit about that. Tell us about the stories that you can really remember.
Well, it's funny because immigration is a big issue now in America, and one thing I'm against not stopping immigration, but at the same time, I'm all about legal immigration. We had to wait 9 years in order for our paperwork and acceptance and all the different processes that you go through. And when we got our the acceptance and we came to New York initially, John F. Kennedy Airport, my first real appreciation about what America's all about and how great America is, I experienced in the first 20 minutes in America.
Oh.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Well, I was around 12, a little over 12. We finished with everything, got our freshly minted green cards, and we went downstairs waiting for our luggage. And I was like really eager to go and see what America's all about, you know. So I told my dad, you know, Dad, I'm going to go out here and look at it. I want to see America. He goes, don't go far, you know. And he was busy with getting things together and our luggage. So I stepped out and I'm looking, and I'm thinking I'm looking at America, although I am, but it's John F. Kennedy Airport, you know, but everything was massive, it's huge. Yeah. And I'm thrilled, I'm excited. And then I watched these guys all around, running around, and they're getting the carts for the luggage, putting them back and collecting quarters. So I said, I got a cart and I put it in and I got a quarter.
Wow.
You know, so imagine this, the word, it gives a real meaning to the word America's a land of opportunity.
Yes.
20 minutes, 12 years old, and I made 25 cents.
Wow.
Where do you find that anywhere in the world?
That's right.
And shame on you for not loving and appreciating a country that gives you that kind of opportunity.
Hey, preach it, Ayman. I mean, honestly.
I lived it, and I every day I love and appreciate every moment. I cherish every moment I live in America, you know, and I did that so well that I actually felt an obligation to wear the uniform and serve the country and give back what I owe. You know, people tell me, thank you for serving. I said, no, it's a privilege to serve such an awesome place.
Thank you for serving. I mean, it is a big deal, though. You know, I'm so thankful that you would see it that way. But myself, as a free American, that is such a big deal to me. And I don't take that lightly. And I don't think the rest of America does, a lot of America, I should say, does either. This is a big deal. And we honor men and women like yourself.
Well, I'm just part of a big machine, you know, and there's, I served with great people. I served with real heroes. Those are the guys, unfortunately, they work and live a life that is, cannot be exposed and they cannot be mentioned. But
sure.
If the country knew what they do day in and day out, they'll be in awe about them, you know, and I had the privilege of being around such company.
So tell us a little bit about because you were instrumental in hunting and capturing Sadaam Hussein. Now, I know the viewers are quite just impressed with that. And for somebody on the outside, we would love to hear your story, your insights into that. And after you're done sharing that story, would you also tell us how does that benefit America and how does that benefit the Middle East and the globe?
Well, to sum it up, one, thank you. And me being instrumental, I was instrumental part of a team. You know, it's not a Chuck Norris movie with Delta Force, you know, one man out taking on everybody. You know, there's only one Chuck Norris in the world. So the real Delta, it's a team. You know, right. They can't replicate such a national treasure like Chuck Norris. But so as a team, we were instrumental in capturing him and a lot of other people. So what it means is we took a savage, ruthless leader that threw the whole region and specifically his country into chaos, took over 2 years later, went into war with Iran, got out of that war a year or so later, invaded Kuwait, got his country into sanctions for 20-some years, and then stayed belligerent until the U.S. went in and removed him, you know, and I'm glad, because the Iraqis could use a break, the region could use a break, you know, and the world could use a break, and he serves as an example that no one's above the law, and no diplomatic or small militaries are going to protect you from evil doing evil, you know, and it was a privilege and an honor to be part of that, you know, that messaging.
You know, there's been such an uprising of hate towards our country. I'm very thankful. I'm a Latina, but I was born and raised here.
Sure.
And I absolutely love America. I'm thankful. I've been to third world countries, and trust me, I love America. You know, we're blessed in so many ways. So let me ask you this. There's been an uprising of hate toward our country. Where does that come from?
Well, our messaging, Americans being patriots stand behind their government, and they should. But there's two Americas. And when I travel, like you, I'm well-traveled all over throughout the world. A lot of people tell me, oh, you're such a nice guy, but, you know, America and Americans are this. I go, listen, you really got to separate two things. There's Washington, D.C., and this is what you're really talking about. And you're going to probably have a lot of Americans sharing that feelings with you.
Correct.
You know, and then there's America and Americans. Americans are the most beautiful people you'll ever meet. What are you talking about? I go, well, I'll use an example. Look at catastrophes that happen anywhere in the world.
That's right.
Earthquakes in Turkey, Armenia, tsunamis in the Pacific Ocean. Before governments, before anything mobilizes, the American people and their charities mobilize.
That's right.
They give their resources, their time, their money, their goods, and they send help. That on its own says everything you need to know about Americans and how beautiful they are, okay? When they are that charitable, they're that helpful, they're that caring, you know? And if you can't love that, then shame on you, and you're really missing out on a lot of wonderful things. And they actually pause for a second and they think about it and they go, you know what, you're right. We need to separate those two.
Yes. I'm so glad you're bringing that up, because you're right. I think the media has played such a large part in that, in the way that they're constantly promoting a certain message of hate, and eventually you buy into it. But you do live in a great country. We do have great opportunities. Perfection? Of course not. There's no perfection.
No.
But what can you advise people who have a bit of a sour taste in their mouth right now towards our country? And, you know, we have 2 minutes left. So tell us, how can America be made great?
Well, it's incumbent upon every one of us. And a lot of times people come in and say, oh, thank you for your service. I wish I could have served. I had this situation. I go, listen, it's never too late to serve. And they look at me like I'm too old. I go, it's important that you continue to serve. And the way you serve America is by being a really good citizen.
That's right.
By being a good person. And that on its own will you become an ambassador.
That's right.
So if you meet a foreigner, or if you happen to be on a show like this or whatever, and you show decency, you show love, you show grace, guess what? That right there is national service.
That's right. Ayman, it's been such a pleasure to have you on today. Thank you so much for
My
sharing
honor.
your wisdom and everything that you've gone through. So many things. It's so valuable. My friends, I just want to remind you that we live in a great country, and Ayman left us with a great word. What can you bring to the table to make this country great? Don't forget, my friends, there is good news out there. You just have to be a part of it and make it good. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
All right. Have a great one. Thank you so much for joining us at the Teresa Lusk Show. God bless you.